Joining us now, our first guest, House Armed Services Committee member, Florida Congressman Mike Waltz. Mike, I think the tide is turning. Am I being a little bit optimistic? We've had a sort of, a wave of anti-Americanism, it seems. I think we're seeing that people don't want it and they're pushing back.
Yeah, Steve, I think you're absolutely right. And just a little bit of historic context, as we celebrate the July 4th, up until 1776, and the entire span of world history, the world was run by kings and queens and emperors who decided what rights you could have as an individual, who you can marry, what kind of job you have, what occupation or where your family could go. And our founding fathers uniquely turned that on its head and said, no, you as an individual have God-given rights, yes, and we the people can determine then what government can and can't do. But that's not being taught in our schools, and COVID has exposed the garbage that is. It's not even being taught now in our military academies, where they're pushing CRT and other nonsense. And people are ready to take their kids' education back, our military back, and at the end of the day, that red, white, and blue, so many veterans out there were willing to die for it. We need to honor it and respect it and always seek to improve, but recognize what a great nation this is. And Steve, finally, the rest of the world certainly does. That's why we have hundreds of thousands of people pouring across our borders, trying to come into this country, even though it's flawed, because of its greatness, rather than leaving and going elsewhere. So for some of those people that wanted to denounce it, good riddance, because I can tell you in places I've served in Africa and the Middle East and Afghanistan and elsewhere, when we come back to this nation, we kiss the ground, and we're thankful to be back in it.
Well, exactly. That's the whole point. That's the proof in the end that that's what people want. I remember, as I just mentioned, my family originally from Hungary. The communist regimes, they had to build walls and fences to keep their people in, right? With America, it's the opposite problem because everyone wants to come here. I just wanted to pick up on one really interesting and important thing you said there, which I think is, it's somewhat disconcerting. But again, I want to talk about how we might turn things around and give people a bit of optimism. Your point just there that people have really, the sort of education about what the Constitution means and what it's all about, I think is really lacking, either consciously or unconsciously. For example, you saw that in the reaction to last week's Supreme Court rulings. In fact, just going back to the week before as well, where people on the left in particular, but loads of people in the media as well, they engaged with it on completely the wrong terms, it seemed to me. They weren't judging it on whether actually these rulings are based on legal interpretations of the Constitution. They were looking at it in terms of policy outcomes. Well, do I like the outcome on the climate change regulation or abortion or guns or whatever? Completely missing the point that actually the rulings were not making policy. They were just implementing the Constitution, which says that policy should be made by the people we elect.
That's right. No, that's right. The courts don't make laws. Elected representatives did. And that was at the fundamental basis of the ruling. But to your point on education, Steve, look, we have polling showing that 70% of young people can't name the 3 branches of government. And so Governor DeSantis has put civic education and mandated it back into Florida schools. I have legislation to do that nationally. And to get us all on the same page, I think we need to get back to a nation of service, get back to national service, to where, black, white, or brown, Christian, Jewish, Muslim, you are all coming together to serve a cause higher than yourself. That doesn't have to be in the military. That can be in national parks. That can be in inner city tutoring. That can be rural health care. But we need to, we're talking about just giving education away and forgiving debt. Let's incentivize it by getting young people back to serving their neighbors, their country, and each other once again in a common cause. And then finally, Steve, the thing that also needs to be taught that is so unique about this country is we are willing to go abroad and die for other people's liberties and freedoms. And so, as we liberated Europe, as we liberated China, Japan, South Korea, portions of Africa and the Middle East, and then put in systems that not only liberated them from oppressive regimes enhanced their own liberties and their democracies. And that point is also not being taught in Hollywood or our schools, that we're willing to die abroad for other people's freedoms and then come home.
It's so well put. And by the way, that point you made there on, non-military national service, bringing people together, absolutely vital. I actually got something like that going back in the UK. Let's talk more about that on another occasion. I think it could be incredibly important in bringing about the kind of change we'd like to see. Congressman, great to see you.